Hi guys, good morning. So today we are going to discuss our next topic, that are the habits. So starting with the definition, basically the habit, it can be defined as a tendency towards an act that has become a repeated performance, relatively either the fixed, either consistent or easy to perform by a child or by an individual. So there are four types of habits which are classified as: number one, the useful habits and the harmful habits. The useful habits are the habits which does not cause any kind of harm into our oral cavity. So these habits, it includes the respiration, the normal deglutition and proper positioning of the tongue. These does not cause any harm or does not cause any deleterious effect on the oral cavity. Second are the harmful habits which are having a deleterious effect on our teeth and their supporting structure, and these are the habits, particularly the thumb sucking and tongue thrusting, which causes various kind of malocclusion like the open bite, the hypotonic upper lip. A hypotonic means short upper lip, etc. Second are the pressure habits, non-pressure habits and biting habits. So the pressure habits are the one which continuously apply a force on our teeth and their supporting structure, like the lip sucking, the tongue thrusting and the thumb sucking. These are the type of the habits which continuously apply the force on our oral cavity, or continuously apply the force on the teeth and their supporting structure. Coming on to the non-pressure habits, these are the habits that which does not apply any kind of force on our teeth and supporting structure, like the mouth breathing, but it causes the open bite. When a child continuously breathes from the mouth instead of the nose, it causes a number of malocclusion, which includes the increased in the overjet. It also causes the open bite. Right? Biting habits are the one like the nail biting, the pencil biting and the lip biting. Next are the compulsive and the non-compulsive habits. The compulsive habits are the habits which are particularly acquired by the child who are having a, or the child who suffers from a increased anxiety and lack of parents' love and affection. That children that usually acquire these kind of habits. So these are the deep-rooted habits that have acquired a fixation in a child, and the child tends to suffer increased anxiety when attempt made to correct. Non-compulsive habits, these type of habits are not a compulsion to a child. So these are the habits that easily learn, and a child can easily drop these habits when a child gets matures. Next are the empty and the meaningful habits. Empty habits, these are the habits that are not associated with any deep rooted psychological pattern, and the meaningful habits are the one that have a psychological bearing. Right? So in this we have four types of habits. Now these are the common habits which causes various malocclusions. So these are thumb sucking, tongue thrusting, mouth breathing, bruxism and nail biting or lip biting. Starting with the first, that is the thumb sucking. So thumb sucking, it is the placement of a thumb or one or more finger in a, this is the palate, this is your teeth, this is your palate. Right? So this is the placement of a thumb or a finger in a varying depth into the mouth or into the palate. So it is observed that most of the children below the 3 years of age, they always suck the thumb or their fingers. But if the habit, it continues beyond this period, if a child continues to sucking or suck a thumb or a finger more than 3 years, then definitely it will leads to change of the dentofacial structure. Right? So the most of the children, they continue this habit at the age of 3 to 4 years. If the child continues this habit more than 3 to 4 years, then it will become a habit of thumb sucking, and it will cause a number of malocclusion. So in this we have various theories. So first theory is the psychoanalytical or the psychosexual theory. We have already discussed this theory in the pedo. So it is formulated, or it is given by the Sigmund Freud in year 1928, according to the psychoanalytical theory, according to which the thumb sucking habits, it evolves from an inherent psychosexual drive, where a child derives a pleasure during the thumb sucking. So during the thumb sucking, the child, he or she, they derives a pleasure by doing this or by performing this kind of habit. Next is the oral drive theory. It is formulated by the Sears and the Weiss in year 1982. According to this theory, the prolonged suckling, not the sucking, it is suckling, which causes the negative pressure. It leads to the habit of thumb sucking. Next is the Benjamin's theory. In this, the movement of the infant's head, tongue towards an object touching to its cheek. So this is a primitive reflex, and it is maximal during the first 3 months of life. So in this, when you touch a right cheek of the child, so in this, the infant or the child, he or she moves his or her head and tongue towards an object touching its cheek. Right? Next is the learning theory. So the infants associated with the sucking with such pleasurable feelings such as the hunger, and recall these events by sucking the suitable object which are available in front of them. Very important. Clinical features. So the clinical features, there are labial flaring. It means there is proclination or the labial movement of the maxillary anterior teeth. This is the labial flaring or the proclination or the labial movement. There is increased overjet. Increased overjet. The horizontal distance is your horizontal distance between upper and lower anterior. This is overjet. The vertical distance between upper and lower maxillary anterior and mandibular anterior, the vertical distance is your overbite. This is the basic difference. Overjet, it is the horizontal distance, while the overbite, it is the vertical distance. Right? So in this case, you can also see there is an anterior open bite. The hypotonic upper lip, it means hypotonic means short upper lip, and hyperactive lower lip. The tongue, it is placed inferiorly, leading to the posterior cross bite, which is due to the maxillary arch contraction. The maxillary arch, it contracts due to the flaring or the proclination of the incisor. Your maxillary arch, it gets narrower, and the depth of the palate, it increases. Right? So in this, the high palatal vault and narrow maxillary arch, these are the intraoral features which you can see in a patient having a habit of thumb sucking. Very important. Extraoral, these are the two extraoral features, again very important. So when a child sucks its thumb, you can see there is a presence of the clean nail, either of the thumb or any of the finger which he or she sucks, and the thumbnail exhibits a dish pan shape. You can see the nail become a dish pan. Commonly asked MCQ. Right? So coming on to the diagnosis. First, the history. It determines the psychological component, which includes FID. F means the frequency, I means the intensity and duration of the habit. These are the three things which you can observe in a patient having a habit of thumb sucking. So the question regarding the FID of the habit: inquire about the feeding patterns, the parental care, either the parents of the child are working or not. The presence of the other habit should also be evaluated, like apart from the thumb sucking, the other are the lip biting, the nail biting, mouth breathing, and your tongue thrusting. Coming on to the management part, first is the psychological therapy. It is usually said that a children lacking the parental care, love and affection, they usually develop this kind of habit. Thus, the parent should be counseled to provide the child with the adequate love, affection, and allow the parents to give some time to their children. Next is the Dunlop hypothesis, very important MCQ. So Dunlop hypothesis, in this, the patient, it is made to sit in front of a mirror and ask the child to suck his thumb or any finger which is usually which he or she usually suck. This will make him or her realize how awkward he looks in front of the mirror when he sucks his thumb. Then the child, he wants to stop this habit. This is what the Dunlop hypothesis is. Important. Next are the reminder therapy. So in this we have the extraoral approach, employed with the bitter flavored preparation or the distasteful agents that are applied to the finger or the nail or the thumb of a patient. Either you apply the pepper or the quinine. When you apply the pepper or the quinine on the thumb or on the nail of the finger, the patient usually quit the habit. Next is the ACE bandage approach. So it includes the bandaging of the thumb and the bandaging of the elbow, and this again helpful in quitting of the habit. Use of the long sleeve nightgowns. It has been found that the use of the long sleeve nightgowns, they prevent the child from practicing the thumb sucking. Why? Because it interferes with the contact of the thumb and the oral cavity. Intraoral approaches commonly asked. Various orthodontic appliances which are used to break the habits. In this you can also use, these are your cribs. When you cut these from up, so these are like, and these are rakes. This is the basic difference between the cribs and the rakes. So these are removable appliances such as the palatal cribs, the rakes, palatal and the lingual spurs. Fixed appliances such as the oral screen, which is more effective because oral screen is usually placed in the anterior surface of the oral cavity. So by placing the oral screen, the child does not bring his thumb into the palate. Right? So these are some of the intraoral approaches. Important point, the mechanotherapy. Guys, bluegrass appliance, quad helix, note it down, commonly asked question. So in the mechanotherapy, we can give the fixed intraoral anti-thumb sucking appliances, the appliances which are attached to the upper teeth. These are attached, not this one, but basically these are attached to the molar, and on the molar the bands are fixed mainly to the second molar or to the permanent molar. Now coming on to the bluegrass appliance, very important. So bluegrass appliance, it is usually given for the habit, or it is usually given as an habit breaking appliance for the thumb sucking. So it consists of modified 6-sided roller. This is the roller, right? So when a child bring his thumb onto the palate, his thumb, it usually hits the six-sided ruler, and when the thumb touches the six-sided ruler, so it starts rolling. Fine. So in this way the child's thumb will not touch to the palate. Child will automatically quit the habit. Fine. Next is the quad helix. So this is the quad helix. Quad helix means 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 helix, and it is the quad helix. It is also used for expanding the arch. Right? Quad helix is also used to prevent this habit or to correct this habit. So this is all about the thumb sucking. Now coming on to the second habit, that is the tongue thrusting. See, this is the tongue thrusting. It is a forward movement of a tongue tip between the anterior teeth to meet the lower lip during the deglutition and in the sound speed, so that the tongue it becomes interdental. So in this we have the simple tongue thrust, which is characterized by a normal tooth contact during the swallowing it. The presence of very important feature with the tongue thrusting is anterior open bite. When your tongue takes place, or your tongue takes this place between the anterior, it will cause the malocclusion like the open bite. There is a good intercuspation of the teeth. Coming on to the complex tongue thrust. So this kind of the tongue thrust, it is characterized by a teeth apart during the swallow. Anterior open bite can be absent. The occlusion of the teeth may be poor. Clinical features very important. There is proclination of the maxillary central incisor, or you can say there is labial flaring. There is an increase. See, please remember the two things, that when there is the proclination of upper anterior, there will be automatically increased overjet. These 2 points are interrelated. There will be the maxillary constriction, narrow arch, and high vault palate. Generalized spacing is seen between the teeth. Anterior open bite, very important, commonly seen with the tongue thrusting, and you can also see the posterior cross bite. Management is, the patient is instructed to put a tip of the tongue at a correct position and swallow with the lip pursued and when teeth are in occlusion. Training to correct the swallow and the posture of the tongue. Flat sugarless drops, these can be placed on this is the tongue. So the flat sugarless fruit drops, it can be placed on the back of the tongue, and it is held against the palate in a correct position until it is completely dissolved, and you ask the patient to perform this twice a day. Both the removable cribs and the rakes, these are valuable aid in breaking the habits, because the cribs and the rakes, these are also called as the habit breaking appliances. Third are the mouth breathing habits. So the mouth breathing, it is an habitual respiration through the mouth instead of the nose. Classification is very important of the mouth breathing. The anatomical. So in this, the mouth breather is the one who have the short or the hypotonic upper lip, which does not permit the complete closure of the mouth without the undue effort. Next is the habitual. It means presence of the habit even after the elimination of the obstructive cause. And obstructive is, there is an increased resistance to the complete obstruction of the normal airflow to the nasal passage due to presence of any kind of nasal polyp, due to any allergic reaction of the nasal mucosa. This is obstructive. Due to the obstruction in the nasal cavity, patient has to breathe from the mouth. Fine. The clinical features are, the facial appearance of the child with the mouth breathing, it is termed as adenoid faces. You can see a number of questions already came on this particular adenoid faces. So the adenoid faces have a long and narrow face, or you can also say The adenoid faces are the expressionless faces. Fine. So in this you can also see the face are long and narrow, and the hypotonic upper lip expressionless faces, and these are the extraoral. Coming on to the intraoral, so in this you can see there is protrusion of the maxilla. When there is a protrusion of the maxilla, there is an increased overjet, narrow arch, palatal vault is high, increased incidence of the caries, and chronic marginal gingivitis. These two are important features related to mouth breathing. Diagnosis is frequently occurrence of the tonsillitis and allergic rhinitis. Very important. Your clinical test: mirror test, water test, and cotton test. In the mirror test, there is a double-sided mirror. It is held in between this is your nose, and this is your lip. So this is the double-sided mirror. It is held between the nose and the upper lip or the mouth, and the fogging on the nasal side. If the fogging is present over here, so it means it is indicated, a child is indicated of a nasal breather. When there is a fogging towards the mouth, it means it is a oral or the mouth breather. Next is the water test. In this you ask the patient to fill the mouth with the water and hold it for a period of time. While the nasal breather, it can hold the water for longer time, and the mouth breather, they cannot hold the water for longer time. Next is the cotton test. So in this is the nose, this is the upper lip. So in this, a butterfly shaped cotton, it is placed between the nose and the upper lip, and if a patient is a nose breather, the cotton, it flutters down. It indicates that the patient is a nasal breather. Fine. So these are the these are the three tests. Coming on to the management part. So in this we have the symptomatic treatment. In this, the gingiva of the mouth breathers, it should be restored to the normal health by coating of the gingiva with the petroleum jelly. Why? Because when a patient, these are the incisor, this is the gingiva. So when a patient breathes from the mouth, it causes the marginal gingivitis first of all, and the gingiva, it gets dry. Fine. So you have to apply a healthy coating either of the petroleum jelly to keep the gingiva moist. Second is the elimination of the cause. If the nasal and the pharyngeal obstruction have been diagnosed, then the removal of the cause can be done by the surgery. Next are the interception of the habit by the physical exercise or by the lip exercise. Otherwise, very important and effective treatment is the use of the oral screen. So next is the bruxism. Bruxism is the grinding of the teeth. The child or a patient or an adult, he or she always perform the grinding or the bruxism when he or she mainly in a state of tension. Fine. So the bruxism, it is an habitual grinding of the teeth when the individual not chewing or swallowing. So etiology, it may be CNS. The bruxism, it is usually performed by the patient having a cerebral palsy or a patient suffering from any kind of mental retardation. Second is the psychological, a tendency of grinding the teeth. It is always associated when the child or the patient gets hungry or hate during anxiety. Next is the any occlusal discrepancy like the improper interdigitation of the teeth. It will also lead to the bruxism. Any occupation which like the over enthusiastic student or a competitive sport, it leads to the clenching of the teeth. Clinical features are the occlusal trauma, very important. The occlusal surfaces, these are worn considerably by exposing. These are the incisal edges, these are worn off, right, which may lead to the toothache, which may lead to the mobility and even sensitivity. There will be pain in the TMJ, trauma to the periodontium, masticatory for muscle soreness and headache. Management is psychotherapy aimed to lower the emotional disturbances, relining exercise, elimination of the oral pain, discomfort by giving the ethyl chloride with the TMJ joint area. Otherwise, very important is night guard. Night guard is the only best therapy or only best treatment for the patient having habit of bruxism. Note it down, important. Yeah, this one. This is the night guard, or you can say occlusal splints. Fine. Next are the lip habits. So the habits that involves the manipulation of the lips and the perioral structure, these are called as the lip habits. So the clinical features are the protrusion of the upper anteriors and the protrusion of the upper anteriors and protrusion of the lower anterior, muscular imbalance, mentolabial sulcus. This is the chin. This is your lower lip. This is your chin. This is your mentolabial sulcus. This one is your mentolabial sulcus. So the mentolabial sulcus, it become accentuated. Treatment is lip bumper. This is the lip bumper. It is usually used as an adjunctive therapy in both the comprehensive and interceptive treatment. Right? When your lip bumper, when it is given in the lower arch, it is called as lip bumper, but when the lip bumper it is given in the upper arch, in the maxillary teeth, it is called as Denholtz appliance. Important. Fine. MCQ. Now after this, next are the nail biting. It is a common habit in the children, and it is also again it is a sign of an tension. When the patient is in anxiety or in tension, he or she always bite the nail. Etiology is it presents a persistence nail biting. It may be indicative or due to any kind of emotional problem, successor of the thumb sucking. And clinical features are it leads to the crowding, it leads to the rotation, alteration of the incisal edges of the incisors, inflammation of the nail bed. So the management is patient is made aware of the problem, treat the basic emotional factor which causing this act, application of nail print or the nail polish as a reminder, and also you can apply the pepper, you can apply the quinine. Fine. So guys, this is all about the habits. Important topic. Please go through it once, try to make the notes. Thank you.